Well, it's Leon Ferrante here today speaking with Shem Fisher, an artist at the Adelaide College of Arts. Hi Shem, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your art?
Hi Leon, thanks for having me today. Yes, I am an emerging artist on Kaurna land. I tend to use a lot of oil painting, and I also will use found objects in my artwork. I will also make natural pigments in my work as well. I'm predominantly painting, but I also will do things like installation work, film, a little bit of photography and a little bit of performance I'm just starting to dabble in as well. I'd say some of my major themes are the interconnectedness of all things in life, or on this planet at least. I like to make intuitively as well and really think and feel through my artworks. Some other types of things you'll see is normally identity and lived experience and a little bit of feminism and things like that I really feel passionate about as well.
So there's a bit of a message in some of the work.
There is, definitely.
And you said you make some of the from natural pigments?
Yeah,
and that?
yeah.
Okay, that's exciting.
Yeah, I do really enjoy letting nature kind of push my hand at sometimes. I think using the materials that we have around us already in our artwork is really good for the environment, instead of sometimes trying to use lots of chemicals in our making.
Buying cans of paint and
Absolutely.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
So I'll make things out of turmeric, for example. I
Really?
think turmeric makes a really beautiful yellow ink and things like that.
Yeah.
So now I use fabrics that I've found or thrifted and do that kind of stuff as well. So
That's exciting and important. I think, from listening to other people speak about reusing things and not just, buying a cycle where we're buying and throwing away.
Definitely.
That you reuse things and the fact that you're going kind of back to first principles, things that primitive people did years ago.
Oh, absolutely.
Using their ability with nature to make things from natural elements and using paint out of rocks and so forth. And I don't know if a lot of that's being done, but that's great that you're doing. I do a little bit of it myself, but you don't hear about people doing that a lot. So it's
definitely
refreshing
Yeah.
to hear. Tell us about the College of the Arts, the Adelaide College of the Arts, and the role that it plays in your life and your art.
Yeah, definitely. When I was a teenager, I never imagined myself doing higher education of any kind. I didn't even finish high school. I didn't finish year 11 actually. So I was terrified of going to university, and I really wanted to study though at the same time, because I felt like I needed confidence and I needed to grow in my making process and learn how to be an artist, because that's what drove me with love. So I looked for a place that was open and welcoming and seemed that it could hold someone who felt a little dumb in school. And AC Arts, Adelaide College of the Arts, was that for me. I did a degree in creative arts, and it was also partially through Flinders as well, so it's like a blended degree.
Yeah.
So really, really great for someone who's not sure about university to kind of start in that place. I was really grateful that I chose that for myself, because other things looked a bit scary, other universities and stuff. So it's certainly served me really well so far, and I feel like I've grown significantly as an artist. With that being said, I don't think that everyone needs to study art formally. I think that we can learn and grow as an artist outside of the education process. I also think that our education system and university systems have been created in a white man's world. So it's kind of directed towards certain types of people, and I'm conscious that people with a different type of lived experiences don't connect with that, and that's absolutely fine. So yeah, I have two mindsets about education.
Yeah, I understand that. And there's a lot of variation out in our society that we realise now much more. and that people don't always learn from being trained in an institution.
Absolutely.
Sometimes they need guidance or need to be left alone or whatever, you know, so it's quite different. But what do you like about being an artist, and what's your motivation, you know, what gets you going on things?
Sure. So when I was like 6, I was very impressed with myself that I could draw my own hand in art class. And it kind of started from there. I was really excited that I was good at that thing, and I felt good when I was doing it. So that kind of have driven me through my life to follow something that I feel I enjoy and I feel like I'm good at the same time. And I carry that absolutely with me every day. I think I constantly will also ask the question is how and why am I expressing and creating? And I think artists also ask this question a lot. We're always wondering what is happening around us. I'm always questioning why we're here, and I feel like artists tend to dabble this question a lot. And that's a lot of my motivation. Was I love art and it feels good, but also it helps me question why I'm here on this planet and why we exist. And it's part of the human experience to be creative. So I feel like I'm following a really deep part of myself when I am making and creating. I'd like to continue asking questions like that. Why do I create? How do I express? And so on and so forth. And I hope that's what other artists do too, I suppose.
I think that's great, because what you're doing is you're channeling the inner child, which follows you through life. And so you're not leaving that behind, because that's what children do. We ask questions. And there's a lot of people outside that subset of artists who for some reason don't want to ask questions, and often we think, why they're not asking questions when we're asking millions of questions, you know what I mean?
Definitely.
And it becomes virtually like a frenetic disease to be doing this stuff. But it's good to hear that you went from drawing a hand to bringing that to life in other ways. Do you have a philosophy that might show up in your art?
Yeah, I think there's a few different philosophies. I'd say probably the strongest ones would be monism and non-duality, I think.
Can you explain them a little bit?
Yeah, so it's an extension or a term that describes that everything is one and everything is connected through one thing. Some people would call it energy, some people would call it like molecular, on a molecular level we're all connected. Some people it's like we're connected through emotions, so but it tends to describe that everything is one.
So the oneness
of all things, yeah. So that's
I'm
probably...
new to this
No,
too,
sure.
Yeah.
So that's probably one thing that I play with a lot at the moment. Also environmentalism, because I'm really conscious of what materials I'm using and how I'm using them, and how to be an artist in a world where we're trying to do better with our earth. I'd say also feminism as well. I'm a queer person myself, and I'm conscious that I'm trying to also make space for people that are a bit like me. And I think being an artist happily and comfortably in my life is my activism, and I make joyfully, and I make for the people that need it, because that connects with me.
What would you like to do with your art now and in the future? Do you have any plans for the future? Or?
Sure. So right now I've got a few exhibitions happening. So there's a lot going on in the next few weeks. So I'm kind of spread between doing those things and also just giving myself some freedom to create, actually. Because I've just come out of art school, well, 6 months ago came out of art school, but I needed to make and see what I am outside of direction from lecturers, basically. Okay. So I'm just allowing myself to make and do what feels right for now. In the future, I would really love to create spaces that people can come into and feel connected to the art, or feel connected to themselves, or even connected to other people. I'm hoping this is like an installation type thing. Yeah. That's something that I'm slowly working towards. I do know that people may not necessarily feel that when they come and see and look at my art, and I have no control over that, but that's my aim anyway.
I get that, because sometimes you want people to experience the space, not just the art that's hanging on the walls. And so rather than you being there to help them understand the art, somehow the installation takes them through. And I remember seeing one of your pieces at the college one day that had a hole in it and you could look through. Things like that go back to the children as well. Absolutely. Or the child inside people, to entice them to enjoy the experience of viewing art rather than just, I'm just going to buy something to hang at home, you know. So, Shem, you've got a couple of examples of your work here. They're wonderful. Could you show us what they do? Do they do anything?
Certainly. They connect, actually.
Do they?
Yeah, so if we just bring them in here. The intention of these two works, but also the rest of the 14 that come along with them, is that they will connect physically, but also connect with the colour palette and colour theory. They maybe even connect with shapes, like these bits down here are from another work as well. And there's other bits on here that connect to something else. It was just to further describe the interconnectedness of everything on the planet, but also I wanted to show it in some form in an art way.
So it's a kind of universal jigsaw puzzle. And can I ask a question personally for me? Did you paint them by sitting them together and painting them as one or individually?
So most of the works were painted individually, and then I selected things that would drag across to other images and decide what works together. So I spent a lot of time moving things around and deciding what works with each other.
So perhaps when you got to this point you said, okay, the next one starts here. What would you like to see for children in terms of, say, art development? I mean, is it possible for children to join art groups, exhibit without any ageism, you know, to just have their work presented as being artwork rather than this is children's artwork? You know, is there anything that you think about that?
Yes, absolutely. I say firstly that I feel like the education system lets kids down a little bit in regards to creativity. I think other topics other than just art should be more creative, and I think that drives kids to be more motivated in their learning and that they're sorting out learning in joy instead of just having to do the thing. So I think it starts there, and there needs to be a lot of growth maybe in education stuff. But also I see kids out in community centres learning fantastically and really enjoying the space and time when they are creating those spaces, and I feel like maybe we should try and cross them over a little bit.
Yeah.
I think kids have just a beautiful, like, raw expression when it comes to making without any hesitation whatsoever.
Yes.
And adults actually spend their entire lives trying to get back to a childlike mind, like frame of mind, to be able to do that. And I think we have a lot to learn actually from kids when it comes to creation and making. I think we could collaborate with kids a lot more.
Yes.
I think it would be really interesting to see how that looks in a gallery setting, and how you would curate that would be really important to create a safe environment for everyone to feel included in that as well.
Because there are a couple of artists I've heard about who are, you know, 10, 12 years old and making a lot of money out of selling their art. But it's not about the money, it's the fact that they're promoting themselves as artists, not as children who are artists. And I think that's important. What you brought forward is what's in my mind too. I mean, why can't I collaborate with a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old rather than only collaborating with an adult? Because they've got something to say, and some of the things they say or show or exhibit are similar to what we think about. You know, we're not really different, but it is it's kind of selective when they do have exhibitions that they say, you know, like they do with this is a photographic exhibition. There's all these categories, and so I think sometimes take away that, you know, that railroading of conception and just make it open, a little bit more open. I've got this question that I ask everybody, and it's kind of hard to ask it sometimes, but the answers are interesting. how do you know when your work is done? So when you're doing the work, how do you know that you've now finished and you've captured what you needed to capture, and that, you know, I don't want to put an extra little bit of blue over there or whatever. Do you get frustrated by that, or is it very simple for you?
I really love this question, by the way. I have two kind of methods with this. So the first method is looking at a work and I ask myself, does it feel balanced and effortless? And is there anything that I feel like I need to work on? If no, then I feel like I'm good to go, and I just let it be. The second kind of idea is to put a constraint on my making, which could be a constraint of time or a constraint of collaboration or material, and that will just guide me in how the work's going to be. I think the secret is to all of that is just to let go of the results and just be present with whatever it is that it's trying to be. And I think sometimes art can manifest itself outside of us, actually. It just does its thing. So we just present while it happens. And that's what I tell myself every day when I'm making, and that's what gets me through.
That's wonderful the way you put it across, because it's as if you're looking at the art from somewhere else, from above, and it's the art that's actually doing the art and not you. And sometimes you need to stand back, as you say, and go, you know, it's done now, I need to leave, rather than going, hang on, I need to add something, and resist that, because we are very conscious of our viewers for some reason, that, somebody might look at that and go, what's that doing there? What does this mean? And you mentioned the word balance, and I think that's really important, because I haven't experienced that classification a lot, but I encountered it the other day. And I think what you might be talking about is how the thing works in terms of the composition or something. Is that what you're talking about when you talk about balance?
Yes. Balance is one of the design principles in arts, like education. So people use the term balance when they're talking about how composition sits or how it looks. I'm speaking about it in this way, but I'm also speaking about it, do I feel balance when I'm looking at it? So balance on the work, but balance in me as well.
What are your strongest influences and favourite subjects? I mean, could it be the Renaissance or whatever? What gets you excited about art?
I suppose most recently is surrealism. I know a lot of people say that, but I'm really pulled to it because of the dreamlike nature and the questioning that they have in surrealism. Hilma af Klint is one of my favourite artists that I'm kind of always really, really interested in, and I think because she had quite a deep connection with the spiritual and the theosophical, which I find incredibly interesting. So at the moment, especially with this work and the work that I did at the end of my degree, that was very driving for me. My material tends to be my biggest influence in regards to how I'm creating, because sometimes things come to me in acrylic or oil or wood or metal, and I have to adjust actually how I make to the surface. So that often pushes and guides me when I need to do certain things, which I thoroughly enjoy. I like to be able to feel like I'm fixing things, or how do I push and pull this work? How do I make it? How do I consolidate it?
I see. A
bit of a fix-it type feeling.
So you're part of the construct above the canvas or whatever material you're using, that is using the characteristics of the material to help you make something. It's fabulous. In terms of the art world, I guess, what was the most difficult thing or things you've faced as an artist, in terms of, perhaps finding it hard to break into the art world, or, you've done study. Sometimes study doesn't give you the things you need. Is there anything that you'd like to talk about with that?
Yes, I suppose there's a couple of things. One is that art seems to be put in certain categories in society in general, and it's really interesting to go have this conversation with people that aren't artists and when you say I'm an artist and I do this, there's normally immediately some judgment, or they have a specific understanding about you. So that's something that I encounter all the time. I left a very well-paying job. Like, I used to be a beauty therapist and a body piercer and a business owner, and I left that because it wasn't fulfilling me with joy anymore. And I've gone on a different path in my life, and people think that I'm really interesting for making that decision. I mean, mostly supportive, but they go, oh, why would you stop doing that? You know, it's interesting. And when it comes to education, there's also, it's really interesting to see different students from different universities, how we interact with each other. That's really interesting and sometimes hard, because people always are like, oh, AC Arts, yeah, I know that, but then I think they see it as like a technical college more than an arts place.
So you've got a categorisation of the institutions, you know, the Adelaide College of Arts or the Central School of Arts. They're a bit different in their ethos or whatever they portray.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge. But they're, you know, very common things for a lot of people to be experiencing. I think I'm just happy to work away and ignore as much of it as I can, to be honest.
Just leave the world behind.
Yeah, pretty much.
Have you received awards and prizes for art? And what does that mean to you? I ask this question because I think we're always, even though we don't want to be competitive, you kind of have to be. And sometimes being competitive gives you a brief to do something you never would have done, but you've done it for this particular competition. So competition is bad and good, and getting prizes could be bad and good. But what's been your experience?
I haven't entered anything into competitions. I find I tend to reject the process a little bit, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Not saying that prizes are a bad thing, or any, like, that stuff's not worthy. It's fantastic. I suppose I feel like I'm not a big fan of competition when it comes to art, because it's so subjective, and it's really hard to watch people make judgments on things and decide what is worthy and what is not. But at the same time, I think people deserve to have their name called out when they're doing something spectacular to make a change in the world. Yeah. So I suppose it depends on maybe the art prize, and I maybe will put my work into something soon, but I'll kind of do it in a whatever.
In a
kind
quiet
of
way.
in a this is fun experience type of way. Not a I actually really want to win. It's a I'm actually excited just to be part of the process of putting things in, meeting people, and having my name thrown around maybe. I would hope that people don't put heaps of pressure on themselves when it comes to prizes. Potentially.
Yeah, it's hard to know. It's hard to know because it's out there. That process is out there. You know, the judging, the selection panels, people that put their artwork into competitions and then they get selected out. It can be demoralising, make you feel less worthy, as you say. But, you know, just sometimes if you're strong enough, you go, okay, I don't really care about that. I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. And, you know, if I get a prize, I get a prize. It doesn't matter. Thanks, Shem, and thanks for sharing your ideas and a little bit about your work. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It's been great.